I'm Brett Boyum. Currently, I am the newly joined Uponor VP of Marketing and Offering. Joined here in November, so I've been onboarding completely virtually up until the last couple months when thankfully vaccinations became more prevalent, and also springtime and allowing people outside. So I finally am meeting peers and team members, and it's been a great couple months. I've spent over 20 years in the building industry, predominantly with Marvin Windows and Doors, over 20 years with them. And then a time with Cambria and now with Uponor. I love this industry. Prior to Marvin, I would call it an adjacent markets. I was with Northern Tool, which is a retail cataloger, actually sells to a lot of contractors. And then after that, I was with Pure Water Filters, which was a on-demand, on-tap water filtration system for just a couple years before I landed at Marvin. Always in the marketing world. Started out more heavy in Marcom, so kind of cut my teeth as a communications manager and a brand manager, and was fortunate to have opportunities at Marvin to grow into the product management side and more traditional marketing, the 4 Ps of marketing. And then as digital became more prevalent, grew our space in the digital world. So just really have enjoyed the combination of an industry like the building industry, which is so passionate. All the people are so passionate about what they're doing. Everyone believes they're doing something that's better in the world. And then to be in a segment or a profession like marketing, where we're able to engage with those customers and feel and share that same passion. It's been a blast. It's obviously a conversation that's prevalent everywhere, whether it's online or blogs or within probably every organization in the building industry. But I think there's 2 tracks to this. One is there's some new things that are popping up or being changed by the pandemic, but I think the majority of change is really an acceleration of change that was already happening prior to the pandemic. And like if you go back through history, I'm a big history buff. If you go back through history, a lot of the most significant change in industry or even in the economy or in the world itself happens when a significant crisis happens, because it puts people in that action mode. And I think that's what we're seeing a little bit here in the building industry. And when I think about, what was going on pre-pandemic that is being accelerated, labor remains still an issue for the industry to expand and grow. And this was an issue before pandemic, and it's accelerated and become a more significant issue today. Access to labor. Pre-pandemic, we talked about the fact that it was an aging labor force in the construction industry. We weren't bringing enough new people in. Well, then you get to the pandemic, and it halts a lot of the education and the trades opportunities, the mentoring and the training opportunities that younger tradespeople would have. But then also just the fact that people were out of work for a while, and trying to get that labor reinvigorated has been difficult. So that's on the negative side. That's definitely something that I think everyone is feeling. In terms of what I would view as positive changes, obviously digital is playing a larger role. People had to learn how to do Zoom meetings, to do customer calls or sales calls. They had to use digital to learn about products, because our sales and marketing folks weren't able to get in front of people for lunch and learns. So that is exciting, because it's opening up a whole new world to I'll say an industry that hadn't fully embraced digital yet in many ways. And so I think it's exciting to see that grow and expand in its presence with our customers. And then the other part for me that's really exciting, that I think is starting to see accelerated change, is the sustainability and the healthy environment or the healthy space. Prior pandemic, it was starting to gain some traction. There was the Well Building Institute and other organizations, even go back before that with the green movement. There's always been some traction with that, but I think through the understanding of people being in their home more through the pandemic, and understanding not only the physical health of your home, but the social and emotional health of your home and the space that you're living in has become even more important. And as we think about how we go back to offices and how we go back to work, that's going to be next in the minds of people is what's that environment look like? Is it healthy and so forth? So I think that's a big accelerated one. Some of the new changes I see coming is just how we do work in general, right? I mean, construction sites, the logistics now. I think I think there's a large population that is going to be prepared for the next pandemic. Not saying that it's going to happen, but I think a lot of people believe this isn't one of those once in a lifetime events like it historically has been. And so, how do you logistically set your workplace up to be ready for the next major event? And that's also job sites, right? So there's going to be increased pressure on coordination, logistics, and how do you do that and still manage your cost structure to where you're still being able to deliver that value to the customer? I think that's something that's really going to be a large effort to tackle for a lot of industries, a lot of companies, and a lot of suppliers as well. And then this back to work in a hybrid fashion. It's interesting when you read about it. Everyone is focused on the office folks going back to work, and are they going to go back full time? Are they going to go back hybrid? Are they going to be all virtual? But when you talk to some of our customers and read some of the construction specific articles, you're seeing that same questioning happening around construction sites. So can project management be done remotely versus on the site 100% of the time? How do you coordinate the different contractor types, electricians, plumbers, roofers, framers? How do you coordinate them so that you don't have them all in the space at one time? So it goes back to that logistics side, but it's a new form of logistics. And I think the construction sites are going to deal with hybrid work as much as people going back into the office will. Obviously, it will have a role, right? I mean, you can't ignore it. You can't avoid it. And I think it really, the impact of it will depend on probably the product category that you're talking about. Construction as a whole is very large, and there's so many different categories of products. I tend to think about it maybe a little bit broader than e-commerce. To me, to many people, e-commerce is you go online, you purchase a product, you can ship to your site or your home, and you've made a direct purchase. But I think about our industry, and there's still many aspects to it that the traditional channel is vital and important, especially with the relationships with the contractors and so forth. And so I really think about the opportunity with digital versus just e-commerce. And as our customers and our partners, supply partners, grow their digital competency, it's how do we grow with them, and how do we complement, or how do we plug into the work that they're doing, and vice versa? How can they plug in and complement the work that we're doing with digital? And I think about it as a whole customer journey, and where does digital start to play a bigger role in the influence, the conversion, and the loyalty of our customers. So for me, it's bigger than just a transaction. It's that entire customer journey, and digital is going to play a larger and larger role up front, way upstream in the customer engagement and customer education. But it's also going to play a role in that intermediary stage that happens right before the purchase, which is, making sure the specs are correct, making sure that the order looks correct, making sure that we have supply. I think if there's anything that we're hearing the most about the Amazon effect, it's been the transparency of from the point of order to the point of delivery, where is the product? And I hear that in all different categories in the industry. And that's where you can focus on, because historically that's been the biggest pain point, or the biggest point of tension for contractors, is not knowing where their product was in the stage of the time I ordered to when they're going to get it. And obviously time is money for everyone, especially the contractor. And if you're holding up a job because you didn't deliver, or you couldn't tell them when you're going to deliver, and they had to wait till they got it in order to plan the next step, you're not doing them any favors. So I think digital as a whole is going to continue to grow, play a larger role in the overall customer journey. And I do think that, especially in certain categories, e-commerce is going to play a very big role. I mean, if you think about it, HomeDepot.com, Amazon, they're all getting into the construction trades world and using e-commerce as a platform for it. But that's not the only place that contractors shop. We know that, and we're thankful for channel partners, the traditional channel partners who are playing an important role. And we see them starting to really amp up their digital game as well. When I read this question, I just chuckled. I'm like, to me, there isn't a mystery. One of my favorite things was marketing and engaging with architects. They're so creative. You learn, I mean, some of the best learning I had at Marvin, where obviously there was a significant focus on architects, was when we did visits and just met with them in their offices or had coffee with them and just had a conversation. I learned more about design and the building industry and process than I could have ever by reading books or going online. I mean, and they're so engaging as a whole and as a group, and they have this passion that is just beyond comprehension sometimes with how passionate they are. The thing that I love the most about with architects too is that they're internally optimistic and believe everything is possible. And so it constantly challenges you, in my world as a marketer, both in how to market to them. It challenged our thinking and what are the right ways, what's the right messaging, what's the right engagement, what's the right frequency of engagement, how do you develop loyalty? So they always kept you challenged on how to do that, but they were always willing to share ideas, which I truly appreciated. But on the always possible side, when you could see some of the things that they were doing to push design and bring in aspects from both commercial and residential and meld them together in their designs, for example, it was so fun and so energizing to work with them. So I mean, the mystery is that they're in many cases not the end buyer. And so you have to understand the whole value chain and understand the role, which is very important, but the role that the architect plays in the influence, the specification, but also, frankly, the championing of your brand if you have a great relationship with them and you can deliver what they need. And so, or if there's a reason why you can't actually deliver what they need, you sit down and talk to them or explain to them the why, and work with them as a partner to do a workaround in the design. And that's what I always loved too, is that they were always willing to hear others' ideas on how to do things differently. And so for me, it really wasn't a challenge to market to them. It was a challenge in terms of a fun challenge of always trying to find new ways. But as long as you understand their role and you're not going to generate a ton of leads and you're not going to be able to track that lead all the time to a conversion, but it was about relationship building and it was about understanding the specification and then understanding that they are really an important influencer in the project process. Then they're very easy to market with, I would say, versus to. I know I kid around saying I've gone from windows and countertops to pipe and fittings. Actually, I'll go back to kind of our initial conversation around this industry and the passion that the people that are in the industry have. And the reality is, it doesn't matter if you're in plumbing, pipe and fixtures, or if you're pipe and fittings, or if you're selling the fixtures like a Kohler, a Moen, a Delta, whatever, or Marvin and Anderson and Windows. The people that are dealing with those products and those companies and brands have an unbelievable passion, an undeniable passion for what they do. And so it's not hard to create excitement about a product that's behind the wall when you're selling to a plumber or a mechanical contractor or to our supply partners, because they've got their own passion for what they're doing, and they understand that what they're doing is part of this greater whole of making a home for someone or creating a building for an industry. And frankly, the role of behind the wall is as important as the beauty of some of the other products that are outside the wall, right? So I'm still learning this because, like I said, I've been here 7 months, but I'm still learning. But the passion holds true from the three different product categories I've been in now. That when you're dealing with the people that are in this segment and dedicated to this segment and are experts in their trade or in their craft, they have the passion, they have the excitement. It's hard not to get excited about it then. So for me, it's all about the people that we're partnering with and that we're working with. Now, in terms of the actual product itself or the application of plumbing and pipe behind the walls, how do you get excited about that? You know, one of the things that I'm really excited about where my career has transpired has been always working with brands that are about added value. And it's not just about the product, it's about the solutions that we provide. And it's about understanding the role that we have in the overall success of a project and delivering that value to that customer. And Uponor is no different than when I was at Cambria or when I was at Marvin. It's the same value that we hold true and almost as passionate about that as we are about our customers or the products that we're selling. So, you know, we're selling a solution. We're selling the idea of more efficient and more productive, more enabling more productivity for the customers. It's not just about the pipe and the fittings. It's about the other things that we bring to that customer that are adding value and we're partnering with them with versus just selling to them. And that's what I think is so exciting about Uponor. But again, in general, the product trades themselves are easy to rally around and get excited about because they just love what they do. So I was trying to figure out, like, I looked up Minnesota Nice just to make sure. I was like, okay, is he talking about like really being Minnesota Nice, or is he talking about the perception of Minnesota Nice and the passive aggressive nature that is associated with that? It's funny. My funny answer would be that you know, with us all being on Zoom now, the passive aggressive Minnesota Nice would be that when we're showing the clap sign, it's actually maybe a middle finger sign sometimes. I don't know. But I think, you know, if I think about, I'm going to take Minnesota Nice in its truest form. I mean that I do think that as a culture in Minnesota, we are tend to be courteous, tend to be genuine, right? And so I'm gonna take it from that viewpoint and say, what does that help in business today? I think that through this pandemic, people have recognized the need for empathy and the need for understanding and the need for just assuming you don't know everything about the situation of anyone else, right? Everyone has their own battles, everyone has their own situations they're dealing with. I don't think that ever has come through more truer than through this pandemic. And as we move forward, I hope that stays true in our business interactions. I hope that relationships can continue to matter more than maybe what they did. And I think that despite the negative connotation of Minnesota Nice, I think the part of Minnesota Nice that I do gravitate towards is relationships are important, people are important. And in business, I think that's and moving forward, that's going to be how brands can grow, is understanding that even as we go into digital world, and it's easy to say digital displaces people, it's not going to. People are still going to matter in the end. And I'm hoping that moving forward, that's what business realizes through the pandemic.